Welcome to The Art of Being Unstoppable, the podcast where we will go beyond the ordinary and embrace the extraordinary. Be part of down-to-earth, no BS conversations where we will explore hot topics on love and money, relationships and business, beauty, and who we get to be with all that shit in between. With our insights and your actions, let's be unstoppable together. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Art of Being Unstoppable podcast. And Vicky, I'm actually kind of excited and nervous about this podcast episode. But I wanted to start by asking you a question. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody where you clearly have two different views about something, and no matter what, they cannot see what you're seeing, they can't see your view on something, and it ends up being like a big conflict, and you just leave so frustrated because you're like, how do you not see this? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, you know what comes to my mind immediately was when I was a little girl, my dad, like if I would come home from school and I would want my dad to help me with my homework or whatever, because my mom always said, no, I can't do that. I don't understand. So my dad would help me. And when my dad would sit down with me, he would explain it. And if I didn't get it, it was like, well, then I don't know what you want me to do because it didn't matter if I didn't understand what he was saying it. And if I didn't click, he was done. Like there wasn't going to try and be another explanation or anything like that. So that, yes, that has happened. So, and it's funny you say that because you and I can have a difference of opinion or a different thought or whatever, and it's fine, right?
Yeah.
We're good because I respect the way where you stand with things. You respect where I stand with things, and that's that.
Yeah.
That's not the norm. We've talked about this before, just you and I. That isn't the norm because usually it's like I've resigned myself to the fact of this is how I feel, this is how I see things, and I'm okay if you don't agree.
Yeah.
I It doesn't matter to me anymore.
Yeah. I had a very specific situation that happened. Okay. I want to share that situation.
Yes.
Before I share the situation, I learned about this distinction of views. And one of the things that I learned, when you learn things, but you don't really embody it, but when you have an experience, you're like, this is what they're talking about. And there was, basically a mug. And somebody was looking at one side of the mug and somebody was looking at the other side of the mug. And they were saying, what do you see? And they shared, I see this and I see this. And the other person's like, well, I see this and I see this. And then what happened was they were trying to convince each other, well, no, that's not what's really there. This is what's there. They're saying, well, no, that's not what's there. This is so basically what it was saying is this is how world wars start. We're not actually interacting with people, we're interacting with views and points of
Mhm.
views and people's life experiences. And no matter what, we can't change somebody else's view. So this is what happened, okay? Oh man, this is vulnerable. I hope my ex-husband does not listen to this podcast episode, but you know me, you guys. I'm gonna tell it like it is.
Tell it like it is, girl.
So, we had bought a property together. And when we got divorced, I was really worried about his financial situation, having to pay me out of half the house, the kids, the market, the housing market was going crazy at the time. So I was like, you know what? I'm doing really well in business. Who cares? It's a property. I'm just going to hand it over, right? So fast forward 3 years, I'm like, man, that was really stupid thinking. Like I just basically gave him $150,000 and said, "Here, I'm sorry. I don't want you to change your life or your lifestyle. So here, let me help you out here." In hindsight, I was like, "Okay, wait a minute. Why did I do that?" Anyways, so I said, "Hey, listen. I think you should put my name back on the lot." He said, "What? Why would I do that?" And so, anyways, I said, "Why wouldn't you do that?" And so I asked him the question, okay, you have some strong views and opinions. What is your view? And I could see his view. For the first time in my life, I'm like, okay, be an outside observer. His view was we separated in 2015. We got back together in 2018. 3 years later, I took half of his house, which if I didn't come back, he would have, had way more money and way more this and way more that. And I'm irresponsible and I quit my job and I quit my pension and this whole world of how I'm stupid to leave my job. I'm stupid to do this. And not that he said stupid, he didn't say that, but just like, who does that? That's just crazy. And so I actually sat back and I thought, wow, I can see his point of view. I can see how, to him, that is insane. And so I said, I really do see your view. I said, but can you see my view? Let me share my view with you. I said, so then I went into details, right? I bought this house. I made money off the house. I put the equity into our new house together. We were able to reduce his payments, pay off that mortgage, buy this lot together. That house, 3 years, this is crazy. 3 years after I sold it, it sold for $600,000 more than what I paid for it. 3 years
Wow.
later. Okay, let's put that in
Wow.
perspective. I
Yeah.
sold that. That means if I would have stayed in the home, would have been mortgage free, living in $1 million house, you know? And I
Right.
was like, okay, so I see your view, but if I hadn't have made that choice, I would be in this financial situation. But then let's look at the big picture here. You have a view. That wasn't even in my view. I didn't even think that way, right? But when I
Right.
started thinking that way, there's like, but because we came back together, what did we create because of that? And and then he said, you spent $10,000 on a coach. You weren't making money and you spent, who does that? And I said, but I took that $10,000, generated 40,000, took that, generated 100, then generated a multi seven-figure coaching company. Yes, you were taking care of me in this interim, but then I brought like way more, 4 years teacher salary to the family. And so I just actually got the impact of our views because his view was true and my view was true. In some place in the middle, there was there was the reality. And I thought
Right.
it would be great to talk about this because how many times in relationships, in business, in situations, are we interacting with points of view from somebody else's perspective and not actually seeing somebody else's view, their experience of life? Because you really got to put your ego aside,
Hmm.
really get over there on somebody else's map without feeling the need to be right. I mean, I felt like I was right. I lost equally but I was like, but wait a minute. Let's look at this. Let's create our views. Let's come together and see like, okay, what happened is what happened.
And and I think too with what you're saying is that, you know, his view is his, yours is yours, but there has to be a common ground with people so that it doesn't have to be who's right, who's wrong. Why does it have to be who's right, who's wrong?
Mhm.
See, we all have a perception, we all have our own experiences, and we make choices because of our experiences.
Yes.
And again, like that mug, one side of that mug could have been white, the other side gray. And by you and I looking at it and we're seeing it differently, we're going to see it differently. Kind of like that viral thing that went around with the shoe or the dress. Was it pink? Was it blue? Whatever color that dress was, that oh my goodness, right? But how people see things. And it's not about making each other wrong. And I think that that's the hardest lesson to learn when we have a view is stand in your view and stand in your what you believe in. Like I think that that is so important, but you also have to be open to allow other things in so that you allow that growth. You
So
allow that growth because we don't grow if we're stuck in our view. Nope, this is the way it is. This is the way it is. Then we don't grow.
exactly. Like this is how world wars are
Yeah,
created.
yeah,
No, we own this land. No, we own this land. And Well, now we're gonna fight it out to see who wins. It's like, okay, but
yeah.
wait a minute. Is there a better way to deal with conflict than to start a world war, or literally in our mind, in our
Yeah,
relationships, in our businesses, in our education
yeah.
system?
Because you know as well as I do, you have this, your view is this, and I'm going to do everything I can to get what I need,
Mm-hmm.
right? And his view is this, and he's going to do everything he can to get what he needs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, at what cost?
That is it. There is a cost of
There is
operating
a
life
cost.
like that. So let's bottom line it for people. If we had to really look at what are the steps, if you're in this situation, if you're listening right now and you're like, you know what, I'm on the verge of a divorce, or I'm, you know,
Hmm.
getting ready to leave my job or to fire my business partners, whatever it is, it's like, okay, step number one, I think would be open to seeing somebody else's view. Look through their eyes without the ego, without the like, oh, I have to try and fix something or get, no, just be willing to just really see what is what they're saying. Like, can I see their view? Can I really see through their eyes? Does it make sense when we do that? When we look through their view, their eyes, does it make sense? That's the first step, I think. The second step would be once you see their view, you can acknowledge your view and acknowledge that it's just a view. It's not the truth. Because I say to people all the time, listen, this is my view and it's not the truth.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
truth, but
yep.
it's not reality. It's
Mm-mm.
my
Nope.
reality, but not the reality. So I think that's the second.
And and that's important too. Just because it's my truth doesn't mean it's your truth.
No,
And it's my experience because of what I have endured in my life, not because of what you've endured.
exactly.
So that is a huge one. That is very big too. And to put the ego aside is even bigger.
And I
It's not
think
easy.
it's not easy, because that ego is like, no, 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 be right, make them
Hmm.
wrong, force your
Yeah.
opinion, force an outcome. It's like, okay, but nobody wins when we do that. So is it the art of being unstoppable? Both parties can win and, get value and come together and build connection. So
100%. If we can't pick each other up and and love each other through the things that we're going through in life, what are we creating for our children and grandchildren? Like what are we creating if we can't show that? I want to be unstoppable, but that doesn't mean that I don't feel the feels and I don't understand and I don't sit back and I don't take the time. That is all part of it. But for me to be unstoppable, that means I'm going to lift you up too.
mm,
And my partner, whether that's my husband or you or anything in your anybody that has a difference of opinion or view, it's okay.
yeah, yeah,
Allow it. Allow it in and
yeah,
sit with it and practice that pause for a moment and just sit with it.
yeah, yeah,
Sit
exactly.
with it.
And I think the third thing for me, what I learned through that experience is let go of the attachment to the results.
Mhm.
Because I really went in like, I want my name on that lot. If something happens to you, I want it back. It's mine. And so when I let go of the attachment to the results, this is where like my spirituality kicks in. And I say to myself, it's good. It's coming from God. It's here to teach me a lesson. It's part of my process. If it's meant to be, it'll be. And if not, I trust that it's not meant to be. Like, I don't want to keep fighting because what's the other alternative? I go to a lawyer, I do this, I do that. And it's like, okay, do I want to put my energy and focus on that? Does it mean that much to me? And I'm like, it doesn't actually mean that much to me. I think what meant more to me is having somebody, him in particular, see my view. It's okay. And I think that was more important than the money in that situation. And I don't know why it was so important for you, for not you, but for him to not see me as like this freeloading, like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I just, for me, I was like, okay, I get that you see me as irresponsible and you see me as this, and who does that? I'm like, but do you realize I literally saved 3 lives from suicide? I saved 6 relationships from divorce. I helped transform hundreds of businesses, thousands of lives. Like,
But you, and that is huge. But you know the difference is again, what you believe and what he believes is important. His belief is money, money, money. He's making money. He works, works, works. Your belief is transformed into something because of the personal work that you're doing, which, you know, again, Tina, I know that we talk about this, but being unstoppable to me is when you get to see that right there, when you get to see it, what you've actually accomplished that didn't have a price tag.
well, and that to me, I was just like, man, I can see why we get so confused in life and in
Yeah.
living because I don't think we really are aware of our core values. And I think
No.
this was like black and white for me. Oh, I was like, yeah, I gave up a pension. And we can look at loss, when people
Yeah.
are like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want to
Absolutely.
leave my job. I don't want to leave that.
Hmm.
But it's like, but what do you value? What's in your heart? What's the impact that you want to make? What is the difference? If people want to stay home and raise their kids, well, that's okay. That is the impact. That's your legacy. If you want to have, the most amazing relationship with your kids, do that. If you're like, I love cooking and I wish I could just quit my job and go, do it. If creating through food is what you love,
Yeah.
do it. Forget about the job and you will, when you're doing what you love and it feels aligned with your core values, you can't go wrong. If you're doing
No.
something that you love every day, but I think that comes back to, this whole let go of the attachment to the results, be
Hmm.
willing to see somebody else's view, give up being right. That's ego. Ego is like, be right, be right, be right. Let go of that. And then really look within to really ask yourself the question, why is this so important to me? And I think that's what I saw. It wasn't the money, it wasn't putting my name on the lot. It was, I never felt validated by him.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing like where else does that show up? Like, oh, I worked so hard. Do people not see that? And it's like, okay, there is a need underneath that's driving everything that we do. If we
Yeah.
can just see it and be real with it and be open, it's not the lot, it's not his view, it's something that's going on in here. And when we take that minute to really self reflect and look inside, then it just puts things in perspective. And it really
Oh,
does, just
yeah.
we live in this, I'll say it again every week. I say it. We live in a virtual reality world. We're like
But
walking
you know,
around.
we're so busy doing all the time that we forget about that important thing of just stopping and asking ourselves, what is the need
What is the
underneath that complaint? Because we're complaining about something. What is the need? Like, what do we need? What? Because it's again, it's never over there. It's always here. Like I can be as mad as hell at my husband or at my kids or whoever, but it's not. It's let me ask myself, why am I upset? And
Mhm.
you know, I've been really working on this, and this will be another podcast because we're trying to keep our podcast to about 20 minutes for our viewers and listeners because we know how important your time is as well. So, on our next podcast, hopefully, we can talk a little bit more of being able to discover your why, your need,
Oh,
and what's coming up. You know, so Tina, thank you for bringing this up and thank you for being vulnerable because I think that that is the first step in being unstoppable is when we can recognize where we are and how we get to show up for other people and how we get to help without a price tag or give without receiving or that's important
mm.
and discovering that it wasn't just a lot, it had more to do with that than that. And that's huge because I think everybody can put themselves in that situation at some point in their lives. I know that I had three things that came up for me when you were talking. I was like, oh, because it was just like, I get it. I feel it.
Mm.
So I hope that you guys got something out of this today. Um, I know I did. And I know Tina did. So thank you for listening.
And I want to thank my ex-husband for giving me lots of content to talk about every week. And if you're listening right now, I love you. I'm sorry I'm airing our dirty laundry, but I know it's for the good and it's okay. I know your view of me is that I'm irresponsible. I'm just gonna keep being me.
I love it. Yes, keep being you.
Uh,
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Well, friends, that is the end of our episode today. If you love this episode, hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And please share us with your friends and tag us on your socials at The Art of Being Unstoppable. So for today, have yourself a beautiful day and let's be unstoppable together. See you next time.